A lot of us start creative entrepreneurship because we want a sense of freedom and control. Chances are, a lot of the times though, it doesn't feel this way. I know personally, sometimes you get lost in the allure of wanting to do your own thing, build your own business, go your own way. Getting lost in this trap means sometimes it's hard to envision what actual success looks like. Do we want more work? Do we want to be overbooked? Will that just make us more stressed? What's the fine line? Thankfully, in the age of the internet, there are plenty of examples of success. One of them is Josh Hall, a former cabinet maker at a tour bus company. After getting laid off, he built, grew, and sold his agency to six figures.
Don't know me, I'm Josh. I was a freelance web designer, solopreneur turned agency owner, and I scaled my web design business to six figures using these 5 principles that I'm about to share with you.
His content and message focuses on helping freelancers build a six-figure creative business that they love. And if that was enough, he did it again. He now coaches people how to do exactly what he did, growing a creative business they love and scaling it to make it a lifestyle. He also has a very balanced and healthy family and social life with 3 kids and a wife, and lives in Grove City, Ohio. If anyone is successful as a freelance entrepreneur, it's probably this guy. Just listen to the feedback from some of his students.
With his business, which is crazy to get that real world experience all bundled into one course.
The value that I received from everything that was in the course was, I don't even know how to describe it.
So glad that I stumbled on Josh Hall's business course. It has been a game changer for me. All of the resources, tools, the strategy, everything that I needed to know that I was doing things the right way.
This is a huge episode for me. Josh is a very big role model of mine. I've gotten to know him fairly well over the past couple weeks. So expect to learn Josh's story, creating a clear vision, and how to control your own destiny as an entrepreneur. Welcome to the Creative Journal. This is entry 12. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, I do feel the kinship with you because I did start as a graphic designer as well. I mean, the 1-minute version of my story is that I was a cabinet maker actually for a tour bus customizing shop, and I got laid off from that job in 2009. And the day after that, I dove into Photoshop. I've always enjoyed design and art and stuff. So I was also the drummer in a rock band at that time. So I was like, well, I'll just start doing design, and started doing our t-shirts and CD artwork and stuff like that. And then we were playing a festival, and somebody asked me who did our artwork, and I said I did. And the follow-up question was, how much would you charge to do ours? So I was like, wow, I could actually make money doing something I really enjoy. And that's how I started getting into more design. And then, as all things do, especially nowadays, it led to web, because graphic design just naturally led to people wanting website graphics and full websites. And that's how I eventually started doing both graphic design and website design. Yeah, that's exactly it. I just transitioned from being a service provider and a web designer and an agency owner. And then, similar to how I accidentally got involved in design, I accidentally became, I guess, a coach, like an online coach, because I didn't set out to sell my business and start doing courses. It just, I got involved in the Divi community. Divi is the theme builder that I use for WordPress, which is my preferred platform for websites.
It's Josh here. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you where to put your custom CSS in Divi. More specifically, we're going to talk about how to access and open the Divi.
And people would just start asking me questions. I got a chance to be a blog author and contributor for a while for a big site. And I didn't think I had just made like 6 figures at that point. I had just crossed $100,000, which I felt like I was well behind other people I knew. But it turns out a lot of people would like to know how to make $100,000 in a year with design. So I was like, okay, I'm happy to share what I've learned. And then what I realized was a lot of the business stuff I was doing in the way of like how I do proposals and my funneling process and all that stuff was actually pretty unique. I had taken some stuff that I learned from different places and kind of made my own thing. And that's what would eventually become the framework of a lot of my courses. So yeah, I was doing websites and being a business owner for about a decade, and then started teaching. And then I ended up selling my business in 2020 to go full-time courses. And then since then I'm really a community builder as well. So online courses. And then I have a community called Web Designer Pro, and that's got everything. So that's got all the courses, community, coaching with me. So that's kind of what my service offering looks like right now.
So at this point in the interview, you might be wondering, what are the common themes between graphic design and website design, and how do you build a freelance lifestyle out of the two of those put together? As you may remember, Josh said he started in graphic design, and then he built a recurring revenue and lifestyle model based off of transitioning his past graphic design clients into web design clients. So I'm about to ask him right now how he did that.
Actually, I was thinking about this recently. Billboard designers would probably make really good web designers because they have to get a succinct idea across in like 2 or 3 seconds when somebody drives by. And that's about how much time you have when somebody goes to your websites and zips down. So I actually think if anyone's doing billboard design right now, definitely consider, play around like building a web page and just see how that would translate. Basically, because you could essentially make like 10 billboards as a homepage, and then you got yourself a nice website. Design wise, that all translates seamlessly. I mean, there's a difference between a printed medium or a flat design, because with websites, as you're finding out now, it's got to be responsive too. So it's got to look good on phones, and most all the platforms, whether it's WordPress themes or Webflow, Squarespace, whatever, they're pretty easy to implement stuff like that now. Thank God, compared to when I got started. But there is a bit of it's more complex online. Everything goes from like 2-dimensional to like 3-dimensional basically when you're online. Funny enough, before I got into design, one of the first times I was inspired to be a designer, I really haven't thought about this until recently, in this conversation just reminded me. When I was a cabinet maker for that tour bus customizing shop, we had this dude who came in every once in a while. He was a graphic designer, and he designed the wraps that would go on these tour buses and vehicles and stuff. But it was really similar to billboard design, because they would just fly by, and he would have to create a design that could be taken in within a few seconds, unless you're of course driving next to it. But it always looked kind of cool, and he had, like his hair was good, and he was like a guy who was like, man, I would love to be that guy. And he's just like, what? He doesn't have to work in this nasty, sweaty, wood-filled shop and have half an hour for lunch, and manager's mad that he's back at 5 minutes later. Like, he doesn't have to do that. So I don't know. I just say that to say, like, that's it kind of got the idea of, for me, that, like that simplistic, not easy designs, but simple designs and things that are brief are really, really powerful now more than ever. And they're really complicated, and there's just stuff everywhere. So like the less words you can put on your graphics and your social media posts and everything else, almost the better. I'm reminding myself of that every day now. Somebody years ago told me the money's in web, and it definitely found that to be true. Now, branding agencies, logo designers, graphic designers, you can still have really fulfilling careers and good money making careers in those. It is a different ball game though when it comes to the web side of things and just graphics, because as a graphic designer, I remember it very well. I was a task taker and a yes man, like you said. It was small projects. It was pretty time intensive, a lot of revisions. I had really bad issues with boundaries and not standing up for myself with how much time I would spend on a $200 business card, stuff like that. And it wasn't until I got into web that I realized that it is just it's a different ball game, in the sense of you can really build a business and be a part of helping your clients grow their business with web stuff more than you can with just graphic design. And branding is a little bit different. I would separate branding from graphic design, because I view graphic design as literal like graphics on social media, printed stuff. Whereas branding is like identity, messaging, copy, logo design, which translates everything. But all that to say, man, if anyone's considering getting into web, yes, I would 100% recommend getting into web. Now, the cool thing is, like you mentioned, Andy, you do a lot of different things. I know you're doing quite a few different things. And I did the same thing. I started out doing, I don't know if you heard the story about my business card, but my first business card had MySpace pages, websites, graphic design, print design, brochures, and drum lessons. I was doing drum lessons too. I mean, it was literally everything I was doing. I should have stuck like lawn mowing on there, because I may as well have.
Now, you may not offer lawn mowing or drum lessons as a service, but Josh touched on a really good point here, even when he was joking, that the draw towards wanting to offer so many services towards your clients when you're in a freelance business is really strong. I know this just from building my own website, is that you want to list everything that you've ever done in the past that you have examples of your work of. Even if you don't have examples of your work of, it just muddies the water for clients, and it can really confuse people when you're trying to build a business off of your creativity. So I'm about to ask Josh how you would go about creators refine their services to make it easier for clients and create more recurring revenue and increase profits based on just a few services rather than offering everything in the bag.
I started making a lot more money when I refined my services. So I limited my graphic design services to just logo design, and then mainly like brochures and business cards. Those were my three biggies. And then that would seamlessly go with websites as well. And then eventually I transitioned to full just websites. But I think it's okay in the early days to have quite a few things on your, as your skill set and as your services. But the sooner you can start to refine those, or at least package those up into different categories, the better. Because it is really tough for a client to see a website or get introduced to somebody, and they're like, well, I don't know if they're a photographer or a videographer or a graphics guy or a copy guy, or are they a business consultant? Or are they a website designer? I don't know. They're doing like 800 things here. And then the question becomes, how good could they be at like 800 things?
Right.
So that's the danger of having too many service offerings.
Right.
If you've already done the branding, then that opens the door for the marketing side of things with whatever you want to do on the marketing side. I think it's such a powerful trio to have, like branding, and then website design, and then some sort of marketing. And then in most cases, if somebody's not doing branding or graphic design, like I did eventually, it was websites first, just builds, and then hosting and maintenance and SEO was separate. And then it was growth services like marketing, anything you'd want to do in there. So you can transition to that eventually. But yeah, I would definitely do hosting and maintenance to get you recurring, even if it's low, even if it's like $50 a month. You know, 10 clients, $50 a month, $500 a month right there.
Yeah, and that's a good way to kind of reach that goal that you have. And I know that really helped you in times when you weren't doing as much work to meet your financial goals and still be able to stay.
Yeah. And I mean, like, to answer your question, when I really thought about hitting six figures, I realized I can't be charging $1,000 for a website. That would be 100 websites this year at $1,000 to hit six figures. Not feasible, not possible. Similarly, like, I was doing a lot of graphic design jobs that were like these $200 business cards that were just taking too much time for $200. So I was like, I'm at this point where I got to cut them off. They were great. Oh, they were great door openers for me for a long time, but I don't need them anymore. What got me here won't get me there. It's one of my favorite quotes. I've really seen that come into play in my life and in my journey. So, I haven't read it. I forgot it was a book. I'll have to check it out.
Forget the author. I can't remember the author's name. Quick interjection. What Got You Here Won't Get You There is a book by Marshall Goldsmith. Great book. Currently, I am reading The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, and I just finished Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. All these books, we'll have to get Josh a copy of the What Got You Here Won't Get You There. But all these books I take notes on into a Notion database, and I actually took the liberty of making that a template to share with you guys. If you guys are starting a new business and are looking for content to create your reading habit and scale up your mind and your business, you can check out this Notion database. That'll be linked below. All the books I've read recently on entrepreneurship, business development, and self-improvement, all distilled with links to download and everything like that. You guys can check that down below if you're looking to build your reading habit. Now back to Josh. That sounds like a really natural transition. You knew your skill set and you knew what you did well, and like from the episodes I've heard on your show, you really just dove all in. That's really inspiring. Like, I know people say that you just have to follow your passion, but like, I know people that are creative, people that want to just do something and design something that is their own. You don't know what that looks like, and you have to kind of try new things and see how that kind of pairs into your offering. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later, is refining what you offer and what you're good at and what you provide the most value in. Because I think a lot of young people just want to be a yes man and say like, yeah, I can take care of that for you. And yeah, whether it's a logo, anything graphic design, because there's so many different avenues you can take it. And I think, to me, it seems web design has the highest ceiling, and it's a place where you can still be creative and still be a problem solver. And it's a great offering because it's a very evergreen type of skill to have. And it's not going anywhere from what I can tell. So it seems like you seem like someone that really knows the value of community, because you grew, I know you had a Divi Facebook group. And so you've always kind of had you're very ingrained into the value of what it means to have people around you that are going through the same stuff. If I'm being transparent, one of my biggest, and I think a lot of, creatives and young designers, people that listen to this podcast, they're trying to scale a business on their own and make it their own thing, but they're very introverted and they're very afraid to ask for help. Especially in today's day and age, there's really just no excuse for it because there's so many good ways to make connections. There's so many people that you can reach out to that know better than you. And it's just being humble and having that beginner's mind. So what have you seen to be the biggest value of, having a community of people around you like that?
It's everything in online entrepreneurship. Because the reality is, even if you are in a workplace, do you go into the office, Andy, or do you work from home?
I go into the office, yeah.
Okay, so you go into the office. So it might feel a little bit different because you do get in-person interaction and stuff. But for the world of freelance and for most online creatives, it's online and it can be really, really lonely. But it's up to you to change that, quite honestly. Like, no one's going to bust into your home and take you to a networking event or a meetup or a coffee shop or, pull you into an online group. Like, it really is up to you to surround yourself with like-minded people. And the good news is, like you said, there's so many different ways to do that now. I don't know in your generation if Facebook groups are cool, but Facebook groups are still huge for web design. So yeah, I had started one for Divi. I've even contemplated starting one specifically for like my podcast, just like general web design business. That would be more of a free option. Now there's a difference between free and paid groups. So with Web Designer Pro, with my community, it is a premium community. And that tends to weed out a lot. It doesn't always weed out negativity, but you're going to get a like-minded type of person in there, even if they're in different stages of their journey. So all that to say, paid groups, if you can swing a paid group, I would recommend it. You're just going to get a more, I hate to say quality person, but there's a difference between a free group that anyone and everyone can join. You'll get a lot of takers that way versus somebody who's like literally investing in there, because when you invest in something, you literally put some skin in the game. You get some ownership of it because you're like, okay, I just paid, if you paid $99 for something, you want to make that back as quickly as possible. But what I love even more is working with other web designers and helping them build their business. So, but I wouldn't have, if I didn't know to like really recognize that, I wouldn't have pursued it. So I didn't know that I would love doing what I'm doing now 10 years ago, but it was a gradual progression. So I would say be very open to where your passions are and what opportunities open up. And if you ever feel like something is a cool opportunity, or you feel a nudge, like I should reach out or I should do something, that is when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Really, as I think back to it, my whole trajectory of this brand really started when I reached out to the guy who was the content manager for Elegant Themes. He happened to live in Columbus. And when I started teaching, I just reached out to him, invited him to coffee, and he was the one who said, dude, you have some cool business stuff in the works. Do you want to contribute to the blog? That's what started my whole foray into the Divi community, into courses. So had I not reached out, I'm not saying I wouldn't be here in some other way, but that was definitely the catalyst moment for me. So I would just say, like, be really vigilant towards an opportunity that in your gut feels like, wow, this is cool, or this could be something really cool. You don't need to put pressure on yourself or blow it out of proportion, but just go into it with like, this is an opportunity. Let's see where it leads.
Josh just made a great point right there, and that's one of the biggest things I took away from this interview, was that it's kind of similar to what my friend Jeremy Slagle said in our interview episode, I think it was 4. I'll link that below if you guys want to check it out. Is that if something feels uncomfortable to you, whether it's networking, whether it's talking to certain people, whether it's doing some kind of a website or project that you've never done before, that's probably the thing you should do. That feeling of discomfort, that writhing in your skin, not in a bad way, but that's something you should really lean into. And I find the more and more I go throughout my career, the more I find that this feeling is something that I want to lean into. And it's not always easy, but it is always worth it.
It kind of ties back into the point you made earlier with the passion thing, whereas people say follow your passion. My passion truly is helping people, but helping people could look very different depending on the service, depending on the season of life. So like technically I was helping people when I started my web design business because I was helping my clients. Now I help people with their businesses and entrepreneurs early on and more established going to the next level. So the passion thing, like it what is cool about that is if you have a passion, it can be multifaceted. Like my passion wasn't just building Divi websites. I enjoyed that, but I don't even barely do that anymore. Now I coach more than anything else. And like I said, communicate and podcast. So I don't know where I was going with that, but it just goes to say, like, if you have a passion, don't limit yourself with that passion. It's one thing that's kept me nimble and really excited about being an online entrepreneur too, is it does often change. Like things switch up and things change up. I'm learning to appreciate that more and like that more, because I went from being a freelancer, graphic designer, to web designer, to business owner, to agency owner, to course creator, to community builder, to coach. Like I've done 10 different things, podcaster, YouTuber, like I'm doing all these different things in a 10-year span. And that'll be the case for a lot of entrepreneurs.
So if you're anything like me, whenever some coach or guru or super successful entrepreneur says anything like, build 6 figures like I did, grow your business, the sky is the limit. Not that Josh says any of those things, but anytime someone attaches some kind of a financial value to their service and markets themselves as successful, your eyebrow can kind of go up a little bit, because you don't know whether that's actually success. You don't know what's his relationship with his family like, how is he outside of work, did he sacrifice everything to get to these vanity metrics. And I wanted to talk to Josh a little bit about these things and how he manages to maintain a healthy work-life balance and grow his business and do so successfully and not at the expense of what is truly important. Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling to kind of know you control your destiny a little bit, because if you ask my mom or dad, they're always just like, you need to get the hell off your laptop and go do something fun. Yeah. But to me, a lot of it isn't work. Yeah, I see what you mean. You kind of have that power over your own destiny to know that, like, hey, I have this in the tank to just, I've done this before. I've increased my earning potential before. I have it within me. I have the connections. I have the skill set to be able to say, like, yeah, I could use a couple more projects, and I have feel it I feel it within me to take those on. And that's got to be a really good feeling.
For people who feel like entrepreneurs work a lot, yeah, we do work a lot, but if it is something you're enjoying and loving, it kind of comes with it. And again, it's like, I like to relax and chill out with the best of them, but there's also times where I enjoy working a lot if something needs to be done. And I think that's totally fine.
But I did not generally work more than 25 to 35 hours a week on average. The trick was to grow and to build the business, but not work 80 or 90 hours a week.
The people who crave stability and job security, I always question, like, how truly stable is that? Or what is that security truly like when you are limited to whatever happens with that job? Like if the company goes down or they downsize. I've got a student right now who's a friend of mine from high school who is in a cushy bank job, making a nice 6-figure salary, but they're not hiring anyone else right now. And he was like, the next step for this company after not hiring is layoffs. So he's like exploring web design to have some sort of control if that situation happens. So that's the beauty about online entrepreneurship and business ownership, despite its challenges. And there's a lot of challenges that are very, very different. It will test you as a person. And at some point, I'm going through a challenging year right now myself in new ways. Like, it will test you, but I always remind myself there is just nothing better than controlling when I want to work, where I want to work, and control how much I want to make. I mean, yeah, there's times where it's like, I hope I make this much on a launch, or this is the goal, but I don't have to ask for a raise. I can just work harder or work smarter. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing that you just cannot get by having a job. And I don't want to overlook something you said a little bit ago, which is, you mentioned like being charismatic, well-spoken and stuff. People more than ever can sense bullshit. And it is like, if you are in this game to make a quick buck and burn some clients and disappear, you're not going to make it. And I'm just, and of course you're not Andy, but anyone who's looking at, especially the online entrepreneurial world, you'll be found out very quick if you're in this to just get rich quick and bail. But if you are a genuine person who really wants to help people, and there's nothing wrong with being profitable and growing your business, providing for your family and everything, that's where that's where I think, quote unquote, success lies, is when you can be yourself and really help people, because clients know, they can get a sense of that. And when I started, I could barely put a website together, but I sold websites because clients could tell that I really cared. So I can't stress that enough. Like, it's something that no one talks about. Like, who knows you could, or who knew you could sell care? I accidentally did that, and man, I feel like that message needs to be out everywhere. I might write a book about it. I don't know. Sell your care. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But
I'd be the first buyer for sure. Like my goal, what I say in every client interaction now is my goal is to make relationships. And that doesn't come at the expense of charging you. It comes with a mindset, and I go into each interaction with an approach. Like I am not just trying to be a one and done transactional thing. Like you need this job done. Okay, here you go. Here's your invoice. Here's everything. And, adios, I want it to be, I think investing in relationship capital, especially if you're young and you're creative and you're looking to keep clients, which I think is a lot more valuable and a lot easier than trying to always get new ones. Which I've learned to start is just like, I'm trying to get my tentacles out there as much as you can. And I think that's a good place to approach work with that, and offering as much value to those people as you can.
Yeah, good, man. Good for you, Andy, for 22 recognizing that. I don't think I really recognized that until my late 20s, when I was like, maybe I should freaking stop getting a new client every time I get done with this client, when I can serve them more. Like I can do their hosting and maintenance and offer them, in the case of websites, ongoing work, and make that a service and build that relationship deeper and deeper and further and further. You're right. It's always it's always less expensive to have your current clients pay you over and over again, to have repeat work and recurring clients, than to find new ones. And lead generation and new clients are key to every business, but you'll get to a point where once your business you have a network big enough, which the podcast is going to help with, everything you're doing is going to help with. I think within a year or two, you'll probably have a client pool and people like an affiliate network, to where like you may not need to do any cold calling, do much marketing per se at all. You could really just stick with the network that you have in place and just build from there. That's how I built my web design business. Zero social media. I had a really small Facebook account that we just posted work on, but that wasn't my lead generation source. It was people. It was relationships, like you mentioned. Relationship first business growth is something that most people will not do. So you'll have an edge on everybody else by just having that mindset of like, I get a client, I'm not going to churn and burn them. Even if I do a really good job, I'm not going to say, see you later. I'm going to say, okay, what else can I do for you? How can I help you now? With that idea, it's like when you're making a content strategy or figuring out your services, you might look towards mentors and guides and people you respect and competitors and be like, I should do that. I should post that many posts a week, or I should do that many podcast episodes. I should post that many videos. I should have that many services. But the problem is we're all kind of playing our own game. And I've thought about this a lot with like podcasting with regards to like frequency. And I'm sure you'll get to this point where it's like, should I do one a week or two a week? What should I do? And there's a lot of podcasters who will do like 2 or 3 episodes a week. And that is a lot to keep up with, depending on what the type of content it is. But one thing I always ask myself when I feel that draw to do that is like, well, they may not be running a community and coaching inside that community. They may not be course creators. They may not have a YouTube channel where they're doing different types of content on that. So their story isn't my story. So I wanted to say that because I think it's a really, really important thing. When you're early on, you're looking at a lot of different people and you're chasing success and building the business and making more money, but just know that everyone's story is different. You can't build your business based off of somebody else's journey.
Wow. So much value in that episode. I learned so much from Josh, just trying to distill all this information that he taught me. I hope you learned as much from him as I did. If you guys are interested in building up your freelance game, building your creative service to something that is more sustainable, creates recurring revenue, then make sure you check out all of Josh's courses. I've taken 2 of them now. I've taken the maintenance course and the business course, and those are great for graphic designers looking to transition to web design, to expand their offering to clients. But yeah, just so much that Josh taught me about refining my services, honing in on my target audience, work-life balance, the similarities between graphic design and web design, and how to package yourself and build a business off of your creativity. If you guys like this episode, make sure you check out Josh's courses. Make sure you check out the New Business Owners Essential Reading Database, which will be linked below if you're trying to level up your business and your mind. This has been entry 13 of the Creative Journal podcast. I'm so grateful to be in your AirPods, or if you're like me, your Bluetooth compatible hearing aids. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you back next week for another banger on the Creative Journal. Peace out.